Not everyone survives awakening, not because they are weak, not because they are unworthy, but because awakening asks for something most people were never warned about. It asks you to let go of the version of yourself that wanted awakening in the first place. Most people begin this path believing it will add something to their life. More peace, more clarity, more meaning. What they don't expect is that the first thing awakening takes is certainty. There comes a moment when the old motivations stop working. Success feels hollow. Spiritual practices feel dry. Even hope begins to feel suspicious. And you start wondering quietly, did I break something inside myself? This is the stage no one celebrates. The moment when you realize that awakening is not making you happier, it is making you more honest. And honesty can feel brutal. You notice that you can no longer fully believe the stories you used to live by. Not religious stories, not spiritual ones either. Even the idea of progress starts to feel artificial. The mind reacts to this loss of structure with fear. It wants labels, stages, maps, explanations, anything that says you are here and this will end soon. But awakening does not respect timelines. It dismantles the one who wanted reassurance. You begin to feel like you're standing between worlds, unable to return to who you were, unable to become who you imagined. This is where many people quietly turn back. They re-embrace old identities, old beliefs, old distractions, not because they are wrong, but because this in-between space feels unbearable. If you stay, something unsettling happens. You start seeing how much of your spiritual search was actually driven by fear. Fear of emptiness, fear of meaninglessness, fear of being ordinary. And then the ego adapts. It doesn't disappear, it evolves. It becomes the one who understands, the one who sees through illusion, the one who is more aware than others. This stage feels convincing, dangerously convincing, because it looks like clarity, but it's still identity wearing spiritual language. The subtle sign, judgment. You begin to see others as unconscious, asleep, behind, and without noticing, compassion quietly fades. Eventually, even this identity collapses, and when it does, the ground falls away completely. not dramatically, not with fireworks, but with a dull, aching sense that nothing is holding you anymore. This is not depression. Depression still wants something to change. This is deeper than that. It's the exhaustion of wanting altogether. Life keeps happening, but you feel strangely absent from it. Joy doesn't convince you. Pain doesn't motivate you. You are not numb, you are unhooked. Many people panic here. They think they've gone too far, that awakening has damaged them. So they look for someone, anyone, to tell them what this means. This is where teachers, systems, and hierarchies become tempting. They offer certainty. They offer belonging. They offer direction. But often, they simply replace one dependency with another. Real awakening does not give you something to hold on to. It takes away the one who needed holding. That's why it feels unsafe. Then comes the collapse of meaning itself. Not dramatic despair, just the quiet realization that even purpose was another concept you were clinging to. At first, this feels like failure, like you've lost something essential. But slowly, something else becomes noticeable. The absence of pressure. Without a purpose to fulfill, there's nothing to prove. Without an identity to maintain, there's nothing to defend. Life begins to feel strangely lighter. You stop trying to understand awakening and start noticing what has been present through every stage. The awareness watching confusion. The stillness behind fear. This awareness was never progressing, never regressing, never lost. It was simply overlooked because you were busy becoming someone. Here, awakening stops feeling like a journey. There is no next. Just this moment, experienced without commentary. Ordinary life returns, but without the old seriousness. You still work, you still relate, you still feel, but none of it defines you anymore. Compassion arises naturally, not because you are spiritual, but because separation no longer makes sense. You recognize yourself in everyone's confusion. This is why few survive awakening, because survival belongs to the self, and the self was never meant to make it through. What remains is not special, not elevated, not enlightened, just simple presence, living itself without resistance. Nothing was achieved, nothing was gained. What fell away was the struggle to be something more. So the question is not which stage you are in. The real question is this: are you willing to stop trying to survive the process? Because what you truly are was never in danger. It has been here the entire time. quietly watching the search. At some point, the mind grows tired of analyzing awakening, tired of naming it, tired of comparing experiences, tired of asking whether this is it. This exhaustion is not failure. It is intelligence realizing that it cannot finish what it started. And in that realization, something softens. You begin to notice that awakening is not an experience that stays. It is not a state you can return to. It is not a feeling you can recreate. It is a subtraction, a gradual removal of everything that once claimed ownership of life. Daily life continues, but the urgency that once drove it is gone. You still make decisions, but they are no longer fueled by fear of becoming someone or fear of missing something essential. Life feels less like a project and more like something unfolding on its own. There are moments now when nothing special is happening, and yet there's a quiet sense of rightness. Not happiness, not excitement, just a subtle absence of resistance that feels more trustworthy than any peak experience ever did. You may notice that suffering still appears, but it no longer gathers around a central me. Pain arises, emotions move, thoughts come and go, but they do not solidify into identity. They pass through, the way weather passes through the sky. This is where awakening becomes ordinary, almost disappointingly so. There is no permanent clarity, no cosmic certainty, no inner narrator confirming that you've arrived. And yet, there is a deeper stability than anything certainty ever provided. You begin to trust life again, not because you believe it will go well, but because you see that even confusion is held, even uncertainty is known, even fear is appearing within something untouched by fear. This trust is not optimism. It does not deny difficulty. It is the quiet confidence that nothing needs to be added for this moment to be complete, even this, especially this. Relationships change in subtle ways. You listen more. You defend less. You no longer feel the same need to convince others of anything. Not because you are wiser, but because the need to be right has dissolved. Compassion deepens here, not as an idea, but as recognition. You see that everyone is struggling with the same fundamental confusion, trying to secure an identity in a reality that won't stay still. And something in you relaxes toward them. You stop measuring yourself against a path, against stages, against imagined outcomes. Awakening is no longer something happening to you. It is simply life, aware of itself, living quietly. There may still be moments when the old fear returns, the fear of slipping back, the fear of losing clarity. But now, even that fear is seen, and what is seen no longer controls. You realize that nothing ever needed to survive this journey. What felt like survival was actually resistance wearing courage as a mask. What fell away was never essential. What remains does not announce itself. It does not claim truth. It does not seek recognition. It is the simple fact of being here, without commentary, without defense, without ambition. So, if you find yourself wondering whether you are awakening correctly, or progressing fast enough, or surviving what others could not, pause. Notice what is aware of the question. That awareness has never been in danger. It has never moved. It has never needed to survive. It is what you are, quietly present, before the journey, during the journey, and now, as the journey gently dissolves into this moment.